Hi, I'm Juber and welcome back to the NSG server. Last time, we got our firework production going, and this time, we build a shop for the fireworks, work on an iron farm, and do a little village makeover. So stick around if any of those things seem interesting. To start off, I headed to the end to do some obsidian mining. I'm going to be working on an iron farm with Weaselfan, a new server member whose information can be conveniently found in the description. We are making a logical Geek Boy design, the link of which can also be found in the description. This design is very efficient, but it requires 8.5 stacks of obsidian. So here I am, in the end, just digging straight down for half an hour. Back in the overworld, I did some more prep for our project. Iron farms required villagers, and I had previously turned off my villager breeder because it was just dumping a bunch of babies in the ocean. I turned it off using a campfire. Anyways, I turned it back on. I flew around the bay a bit looking for a good place for the iron farm. It seemed like a good idea to put the iron farm near one of our bases so it would produce iron without us having to purposefully AFK at it. We settled on putting it near the firework factory, so whenever I AFK to make gunpowder and sugarcane, I will also make iron. Weaselfan showed up and we started preparing our worksite. I feel like to adequately explain what we are doing, I have to give a little background info on how spawning golems works and how the nether works. First of all, when a villager gets scared and there are no nearby iron golems, he'll go and an iron golem will appear on a nearby block. This works in the overworld or the nether. So, because one block in the nether is the same distance as 8 blocks in the overworld, we can link multiple portals in the nether to one portal in the overworld. For this to be useful, we just need to make sure the only nearby block for the golem to spawn on is in a portal, instantly transporting the golem out of the nether, allowing the villagers to remain terrified. That is key. Your villagers have to be terrified. Most of the time anyways. We'll have a timer to drop a hostile mob out of view of the villagers so they can have small breaks. Because I guess if they're scared all of the time, they get used to it and become braver. We can't have that. Because again, it is paramount that these villagers live in fear so they can continue to make us iron golems forever. You know, this sounds kind of similar to the plot of Monsters, Inc. Anyways, the golems get pushed through the multiple portals and they will all come out right here, where we are building our golem elimination chamber and iron collection system. We just need a little bit of soul soil and a couple of logs, so we can make lots of blue fire, because it is more hardy than red fire. Then we headed into the nether so we could travel over to Whiffleflab's Guardian Farm. We talked about the fundamentals of feasibly farming fish families for food and emeralds, but really, we were just using the Guardian Farm as a staging location for the next step in our grand plan. Good old WF knew of a nearby pillager outpost. Using a pillager as our scary villager scarer has two advantages. One, they don't burst into flames at the merest mention of ultraviolet rays, and two, they have a crossbow that follows the same rules of durability that all Minecraft tools are subject to. So, if they fire that thing enough times, it will break, and then they will become completely docile. Which totally doesn't make sense on a bunch of levels, but they cease to be a danger to us or our villagers, and yet the villagers are still terrified of them. Which is perfect, because if there's one thing we want, it's scared villagers. Me and Weefa share an ocean. He lives like 15 minutes away by boat, but we can still get back to our worksite with little to no trouble. We let our pillager continue to vent his frustrations for a while, and after he decided to put down the crossbow, I made him an honorary villager. He didn't understand the concept of stairs though, so we made him a mini roller coaster to get to the nether. The nether, being the nether, is very dangerous, so we very safely wrapped him in a protective cocoon of very flammable wool. It was time to prepare our work area for the nether side of our iron farm. This was going to require a decent amount of digging, and old Woofers didn't have as good a shovel as me, so I made him one. Probably one of my least altruistic presents. Hey dude, I don't want to have to move all this dirt by myself, so I made you a shovel! Happy birthday! Normally, whenever I do a project, I do it in a very linear fashion. I design it, then I start collecting resources until I have everything that I need, and then I build it, and then I'm done. That's not really how collaborative projects work due to having to sync up schedules with at least one other person. So I decided to go work on some other projects until the next time that both me and Weaselfan were free at the same time. Speaking of schedules, I had previously agreed to go end busting with a few Never Stop gamers, but it hadn't really worked out yet, and I desperately needed shulkers. I figured it would be socially acceptable if I did a really fast end bust by myself. In and out, I was in the end for less than 10 minutes. Not a bad haul for 10 minutes. I needed the shulkers because it was time to start working on my first shop of the season, and I did not want to do the poor man's resource transfer all the way to the shopping district. Shulkers shucked, it was time to start the resource grind. I hollowed out my Mesa Plateau for an array of rocks that would make a geologist jealous. We got stone, textured stone, and differently textured stone. This project needed a bit of concrete, so I did a quick shoveling of the surrounding countryside for some yellow sand. I really need to get my dye production going, but for now, we will continue to pick flowers by hand, like a peasant. And the amount of dark oak I have chopped by hand this season is 5,000 logs. Probably need to make a tree farm at some point as well. In the nether, we grabbed a bit of quartz, a bundle of basalt, and a bunch of blackstone. A pair of wither skeletons took offense to my nether brick fence acquisition methods. In retaliation, I took another fence. "Gimme damn warts" is a sentence no one has probably ever said before. Resources all collected, I crafted everything up, packed it up into my super convenient shulker boxes, and headed to the shopping district. This season, we are following the Hermit's lead, and charging for the necessary land to open a shop. The price is 1 chunk for 1 diamond block. The shop I designed is going to take up 4 chunks. It's honestly barely bigger than 1 chunk, but I wasn't willing to sacrifice style to save a few diamonds. We had to clear some mycelium, dirt, and stone in order to make room for our shop. I ended up with more dirt than I had the capacity to store without going to my base. I guess I could let it despawn, but I had a different idea. Nice. I finished clearing the area and built a temporary retaining wall out of dirt. After all my prep was done, I began building my shop. Now, I could have just put a chest and a sign on the ground to sell rockets, but honestly, shops are probably my favorite part of playing on an SMP. With my base, I feel like everything has to fit into whatever theme I've decided on, or it'll take away from the overall feel of the base. With a shop, each individual build can be its own thing, so it really lets me flex my creativity. Well, try to anyways. For this shop, the inspiration started with just the name, Rockin' Rockets. Originally, my thought was to make a shop shaped like an electric guitar, but I realized to make that look good, it would have to be huge. I tried a few things, and came up with a creeper throwing the rock and roll salute. Being made out of rocks was kind of an afterthought. It works though because I've had a thing for monochrome building for a while. It was a lot easier to collect the resources for this than green concrete would have been. It looks really cool, and it also makes an unintentional pun for rockin' rockets. Another thing I really like about shops is that it makes sense to put up a sign with a name on it. Lets me practice some creative lettering that wouldn't otherwise make sense for a build. I can justify it here because it makes the other gamers more likely to go to my shop because they can see it easily and identify what I'm selling just as fast. For the interior, I decided to go really simple. The main reason I did this is I'm not 100% on what I want the shop layout to be yet. Right now, I'm only selling flight duration 1 firework rockets, but there's actually thousands of configurations you can craft a rocket into. The only real decoration I did in the shop was the pixel art of gunpowder on the floor. I'm super happy with how the shop turned out. I still have a bit of terraforming to do for the shop to truly be finished, but I need to see how the shopping district develops before I can do that, and it might be weeks before I get to that. Back at my base, I crafted up some paper, I grabbed some gunpowder, and I prepared to stock my shop. I forgot to make sure that all of my chests were functional, so I had a few super quick alterations to make to my shop when I got back. Confident it was ready for the public, I crafted up the rockets, stocked my shop, and opened it up. I also figured it would be a good idea to pay for my plot before the server repossessed my shop. Back at my base, I did some reoccurring work things. I traded with the villagers to earn emeralds and mend my armor. I AFK'd at my rocket farm. Gunpowder. That's pretty satisfying. Also, I'm pretty sure that I'm missing a trapdoor somewhere. At some point, a zombie got into my farmer villager house. Well, I guess this saves me the trouble of having to zombify them, but if I want to keep using them, I need to heal them. It should be easy. Yep, totally easy. And then, back to the grind. I grabbed my shulkers again and started looking for resources for the iron farm. In need of some red sand, I started terraforming a bit around my villager houses. For replenishing my dwindling wood supply, I returned to my spawn reclamation project. While collecting warp planks in the nether, I came across a bastion that I quickly ransacked, and I got a pig step record. I was tired of running out of rockets, so I made a shulker specifically for them, filled it up, and threw it into an ender chest. I also found a boot upgrade while I was in the nether. Okay. Working on the iron farm, I needed to get some sand. No way for me to farm it yet, so it's gotta be by hand. Next found me in the shopping district buying out Prismarine. But I'm so poor I had to find a different way to glean all the fishy blocks I need to make up my new build. I would have to ignore my morals in order to see my plan fulfilled. Into Weasel's Guardian farm with the intent to steal. Nah, JK, it's cool, my dude, we'd already made a deal that I could use his farm for this project because, you know, it was a joint project. After I got all the necessary resources, I headed back to our overworld farm area and started building. I didn't really know what to make the farm look like, so I did something commonly referred to as Minecraft building. I made a block palette based on colors, and then I just built, making sure the colors were well integrated and that the build had enough depth. I tried to make extra sure that this build was mob-proofed so it didn't affect the rates of the nearby creeper farm. The last thing I wanted to accomplish today was a little village makeover. So I did a small bit of terraforming and threw some resources together, which of course took a while because I never have everything I need. A long while. Whenever I first designed my villager houses, I couldn't figure out how to give them quite as much depth as I would have liked. In order to compensate for this, I'm giving them more texture now than they originally had. I would be curious to see how you guys feel about the updated textures on each of the villager houses. I also redid the foundations so they would be more in line with how the build looked now. As part of my villager makeover, I updated the storage for the pumpkin and melon farm. When I initially designed it, I didn't give it enough storage, and I didn't account for if the storage completely filled up. So I added some chests and put in an overflow valve that will compost any extra items. Today, we worked on an iron farm, we built our rockin' rocket shop, and we gave our village a mini makeover. And now, we don't have anything else to do. But thank you for watching this week's video, and feel free to do any combination of liking, subscribing, and commenting that you feel comfortable with. Everyone have a wonderful week, and until next time, see ya!